Next time you fly, watch the flight attendants right before takeoff, not the safety demo. After that, when they buckle in themselves, their hands disappear, palms down, tucked under their thighs, sitting on them like they're hiding something. And here's the part that should bother you. This isn't one airline's quirk. It's every airline, every route, every single takeoff, worldwide. So either thousands of flight attendants independently developed the same weird habit, or someone taught them to do this on purpose. It's the second one. And the real reason is split into two parts. One about your body, one about theirs. Most videos on this only tell you half. But I'm giving you both. Let's get started. Reason 1. Physics. When a plane accelerates for takeoff, or worse, has to abort suddenly, the force throws your limbs forward before your brain can react. We're talking about an aircraft going from a dead stop to over 160 miles an hour in under 30 seconds. If a flight attendant's hands are loose, they fly. Straight into a tray table, an armrest, another person. That's a broken wrist, a dislocated finger, a hand that no longer works, right when they might need it most. Sitting on their hands locks them in place. No flailing, no impact, no injury. It's the same reason race car drivers keep their arms tucked tight during a crash instead of bracing outward. A lockdown limb survives force a loose one can't. Reason 2, and this is the part almost nobody talks about, it's not really about protecting the hands, it's about protecting you. A flight attendant with a fractured wrist can't open an emergency exit, can't unbuckle a child, can't pull someone out of a burning aisle. And emergency exits aren't light. Some of those doors weigh close to 40 pounds and have to be pulled, lifted, and thrown clear in seconds, with 2 working hands. In an emergency, they have seconds, not minutes, to act, and they have to be physically capable the second the plane stops moving. This posture is a form of insurance, not for their comfort, for your survival. That's the actual reason. Everything else in this video is how we got here, and one theory floating around online that isn't quite right. That's the what. Now here's the why it took decades to figure out. And honestly, if you're the type who likes knowing the why behind stuff like this, the like button's right there. Doesn't cost you anything, helps more than you'd think. Alright, back to the 1930s. Flight attendants back then, stewardesses, weren't safety officers. Airlines actually required most of them to be registered nurses. The thinking was simple. Passengers were nervous, planes were loud and bumpy, and a calming, medically trained presence made people feel safer. They served meals, held hands during turbulence, and handed out gum for ear pressure. Nobody was studying hand posture. Nobody needed to. Planes cruised slower, flew lower, and honestly, flying was already terrifying enough without a rulebook for where to put your hands. That changed as aviation got busier and as accidents, inevitably, taught the industry hard lessons. Every major shift in cabin safety, historically, traces back to a real incident that exposed a gap. Through the mid-1900s, regulators like the FAA started requiring cabin crew to be trained in evacuation and emergency response, not just hospitality. Suddenly, flight attendants were being drilled on how fast a cabin can fill with smoke, how many seconds it actually takes to evacuate a full plane, and what happens when half the exits are blocked. The job flipped. Flight attendants stopped being hosts and became the last line of defense between a bad situation and a controlled one. Out of that shift came the brace position research. Engineers and safety researchers studying, frame by frame, exactly how a human body behaves during sudden deceleration. Where limbs move, where the spine takes stress. Which small adjustments turn a survivable impact into an unsurvivable one. What they found reshaped seating design, seatbelt placement, and yes, crew posture. The sit-on-your-hands position wasn't invented by one person in 1 year. It was refined, tested, and standardized over decades across dozens of airlines and regulatory bodies comparing notes, which is honestly more impressive than if it were some single genius idea. It survived because it kept working, flight after flight, test after test. Here's the layer most people miss entirely. During those 30 seconds of takeoff, flight attendants aren't just sitting still. They're running a silent checklist in their head. Exits, brace commands, what their specific job is if something goes wrong in the next 90 seconds. This is sometimes called the 30-second review, and it's drilled into crews so deeply that it becomes automatic. Nearest exit, alternate exit, how many rows away, what to shout, where to push people. Pilots call their version of this mental rehearsal chair flying, running through a procedure in your mind before you ever need to execute it physically. Crew do a version of it every single takeoff, quietly, while you're checking your phone one last time before airplane mode. Sitting on their hands isn't just physical stability, it's a trigger, a physical cue that tells their brain, this is the moment, stay sharp. Athletes do something similar before a big play, a specific stance, a breathing pattern, a ritual that switches the mind from idle into focus mode. Flight attendants do it thousands of times a year, on every single takeoff and landing of every single shift, and most passengers never notice it's happening at all. Now, if you've spent any time in the comments section of aviation videos, you've probably seen this theory, that it's really about protecting their fingers specifically, so they don't get crushed or broken against the seat frame in a hard impact. It's not wrong exactly, it's just incomplete. Finger protection is a side effect of the posture, not the reason it exists. The full position, straight back, planted feet, hands under thighs, is designed around whole body stability, not just finger safety. If it were only about fingers, crew wouldn't also be trained to keep their feet flat and their spine locked against the seat back. Think of it less like protect the fingers, and more like lock the whole body down so nothing moves that shouldn't. The finger theory took one true detail and mistook it for the whole picture, which happens a lot with viral explanations. One real fact gets stretched to cover something bigger than it actually explains. If you've ever actually asked a flight attendant about this and gotten a real answer, drop it in the comments, and while you're there, tell me what city you're watching this from. I like knowing how far this stuff actually travels. One more thing worth pointing out. You're never told to sit on your hands. Ever wonder why? Because your job during takeoff is different. You need your hands free. To brace, to grip an armrest, to help a kid next to you, to hold the seat in front of you if you're told to lean forward. Flight attendants train for the opposite. Total physical stillness, so that the instant something happens, they can move, unbuckle, stand, assess, act, all in the first few seconds. 2 different jobs, 2 different postures. Same 3 seconds of physics, handled 2 completely different ways depending on what you're responsible for when the plane goes quiet. So the next time you glance over during takeoff and catch a flight attendant sitting there, hands tucked away, spine straight, completely still, you're not watching someone relax before a long flight. You're watching someone quietly get ready to save your life, just in case they have to. If this changed how you'll look at takeoff from now on, share it with whoever you're flying with next. They'll probably never notice this posture again without thinking of this video. And if little details like this are your thing, the stuff hiding in plain sight that nobody explains, subscribe, because that's basically all we do here. Actually, don't just take my word for it. There's a video on your screen right now that dives into another everyday habit with a surprisingly deep reason behind it. Click it, and I'll see you in the next one.